What's going on, everybody? It's the unofficial Maple Leaf post-game breakdown. Leafs get another win. 3 straight. Playoff hopes are still alive. There's some positivity in Leafland. Everything I said prior to this video, disregard it. We're going back. Playoff hopes are alive. We're not going to sell. We're going to build. Fuck it. We're going to do it. We'll do it live. Why not? Okay, no, maybe that's a little too optimistic, but you know what? Fantastic game. Not didn't go the way that I thought it would have, to be honest with you. I'm glad the Leafs won. Um, but yeah, again, typical Leafs fashion. Everyone's talking about selling and what pieces are going to be here, and then of course they come out, win 3 straight. And I really think this team just likes proving everybody wrong in some cases. Just when you're down and you're out and you have no faith in this team, they come back and they give you a little bit of hope. Now, most likely that's just to rip your heart out even more than this team already does. But you know what? I'll take the positivity for now. I think there's at least a couple good things that we can look towards here. So, last game before the Olympic break. What does this all mean for trades and the direction of this team now? To be honest with you, as positive as I am and the outlook for how I want this team to be, I guess, I don't think it really changes much, to be honest with you. It's a step in the right direction, but I think you really still have to wait until after the Olympics. Maybe you see a game or two, and if they come out hot, then yeah, maybe you keep building, and there's a chance that they could make it. But even if they lose the first 2 games after the Olympic break, I would just say at that point you probably have to start tearing it apart and at least making a sell or two around the team. But yeah, I don't know. It's so hard to figure out what to think with this team. I mean, the optimism in me, the true little Leaf fan, the kid growing up watching this team just wants me to go all in emotionally again, and I feel like I kind of am, but I'm trying to hold it back. So, just to be more realistic and kind of analyze the game and the whole season in a realistic way, which is very difficult to do. But yeah, I don't know. It's still undecided of where we should really take this team. I guess that's why, honestly, when it comes down to the executives and general managers, it seems like an easy job when things are going well, but when they're not going well, it's some really tough decisions to be made. And you make the wrong ones, you get fired or you get blamed, and you create a bad name for yourself. It's tough. So those are envied positions, but when times are not good, it's you got to make some really really tough choices with this team. So that being said, let's get into the game here and break down what we had tonight. So Leafs and Oilers, always a great matchup. Matthews versus McDavid. 2 Canadian teams, one anthem at the beginning of the game. That's always nice. But you know what? Honestly, this was a game where it's kind of always set up, as I just said, like Matthews versus McDavid. But in this particular game, it actually didn't really turn out to be that way. I was surprised. The Leafs did a very good job tonight of shutting down McDavid and Draisaitl. Now, Draisaitl had a couple opportunities there, especially one at the end with like 5 minutes left, which is usually a surefire goal for him. Stolars comes across, somehow makes that save. We'll get to Stolars in a minute, but for now, I think the Leafs did a really good job of shutting down McDavid and Draisaitl. And when it came to the Leafs offense, Matthews actually had a very quiet night. I don't even think he had one shot on goal. Maybe he had one, but yeah, it wasn't really like a top line kind of game for the Leafs. A lot of the secondary scoring came through. Michelli had a great night. McMahon showed off his skills once again. Robertson was buzzing. So it was a game that was really tiered toward like the middle players, and surprisingly, with the in my opinion the weak secondary players that Toronto has, that actually came up pretty big. So I was surprised. And then once again too, Riley is out, and then the Leafs win again. So as I said before about this game being a defining point in Riley's career and how this team looks at him moving forward, I think now is the official time in the next coming weeks, like during the break, to have a real conversation with Morgan Riley, and tough decisions have to be made there after seeing this, because even besides this little stretch here, the Leafs record is very good without Riley in general. So With the weight of what's been going on lately and even past performances, how the team performs without him, I think that you really have to make a tough call on that pretty soon. So we'll see on that. But yeah, I was pretty happy with it. Nylander had a pretty good game too. Wasn't as flashy as last game in Calgary because I think Edmonton's a little bit better, obviously. So there's less time and space out there. But he still had 3 shots on net tonight, set up a couple goals. Honestly, super happy with how he's played. Hopefully that kind of drops off for the Olympics and he's not going to be as difficult to play against. But you know what? Tonight I was pretty happy with how he played. So I guess let's get to Stolars real quick. You know, it's tough. Like I still stick with what I said before in terms of him saying he needs 2 or 3 games, and I guess the number was 3 to really get going and kind of get his rhythm back. I still think he should have gone down to the Marlies to sort of get some game experience before coming back up because he cost us 2 very big games coming back there. But look, tonight was a night where you needed every possible save you can get from him. 34 save performance. So you know what? I have to say, like now it makes the conversation even more difficult of where do you want to go with the goaltenders because you have 3 of them. Do you trade Stolars or do you trade Hildeby? Like somebody's got to go here. You can't have 3 goaltenders. One of them's going to get claimed off of waivers for sure. Or not one of them, but like Hildeby if he goes on waivers. So yeah, I don't know. They got to trade a goaltender. I'm not sure which one now. I was pretty confident the other day, but after a performance like tonight, I'm not really sure where to go with that, which is even more tough now. But yeah, I mean, honestly, the like I would have preferred they played Wall tonight, but after seeing that Stolar's performance, now I'm kind of like maybe here's your 1A 1B tandem back. We'll have to see a couple more games for that to really be a true statement, I guess. But I was still very impressed with that. So first period, honestly, hell of a first period. It was pretty quiet for the most part, but a very quick, fast paced game. Both the teams. I mean, obviously because Connor McDavid's playing. When he's on the ice, the puck just moves so fast. He blows through the neutral zone like it's just not even there. I mean, especially in the Olympics with it being a smaller neutral zone. I'm curious to see how McDavid's going to play like that. It's gonna be crazy. But yeah, it was just a really really fast paced game, and the Leafs now have a trouble keeping up with teams because they are a little bit of an older team, and speed seems to be the one thing that really shuts them down. But I was actually surprised they kept up pretty well. They had a lot of jump tonight. They came out. They started on time. All of the little things that the Leafs kind of have been. Not able to do on a consistent basis. They came out tonight and put that all together for a great 60-minute performance. So, yeah, it's looking hopeful. I don't know why games like this can't happen more often. There's games when you really think they're going to lose, and then there's games like this where they're important, but it's not a super big narrative game, and then they come out and they look great. So I don't know. They fall flat on their face when there's a really big narrative game. So I think that's still a problem that has to be addressed, but that's another conversation. So the second period again is where things really get going. Where the real meat and potatoes of this game is. Michelli scores on a nice tip. Between the legs, that was beautiful. Gets the scoring going, and then Oilers score on a long shot from the point, 1-1. And then what was nice to see is the Leafs actually come back for once right after they get scored on and put one in the net. It was nice to see an instant response there. We don't usually get that. Usually they kind of struggle for a while to get their footing going after a goal, or they're trying to I don't know, just dump it and chase it. Whereas tonight they were actually actively going in and getting the puck and making the hits too, which was nice. So nine scores, 9 seconds later, 2-1 Leafs. Third period, a little bit of a defensive coverage breakdown. Kapanen gets left wide open in the slot, walks down, and he scored a beautiful goal. But it always sucks when, your former Leafs, who are on obviously other teams, just score on you. I don't know why that always seems to happen a lot, but every time an ex-Leaf who's somewhat of a prominent player is playing against them, you got to bet him for a goal. I mean, at least why not even, or at least a point. You know what I mean? Like it seems to happen on a very consistent basis. So I mean, it was a pretty obvious prediction that Kapanen or maybe even Hyman would have scored tonight too. But yeah. So at that point, 2-2, John Tavares scores. Um, yeah, so let's get into that power play actually. So Leafs barely get any power plays lately. I think they didn't have any power plays in like the last 3 or 4 games for the most part. And tonight the floodgates just kind of open and they get a surprising 5-on-3. John Tavares scores in the first power play, and it's 3-2. Michelli scores on a beautiful pass. So I mean, look, the power play is cooking again. You don't really get to see it that often, but clearly they had enough skill and composure tonight to, to make that the deciding factor in the game. I think there's parts when they kind of let the opportunities slip, but tonight was one of those nights where they actually took advantage of the opportunities they got, and that's nice to see. That's a team that's an element to this team that we need to see way more often if they're going to be, have any remnant of success in this is horrible season. Um, so as I said, yeah, massive stop from Stolars on Draisaitl with 5 minutes left to keep the game out of reach, and then of course Bobby McMahon gets the empty netter 5-2, and it was nice for McMahon too. I mean, his name's been on the trade block a lot lately. He seemed like he was a little fired up tonight. Maybe that's because he knows he's on the trade block, and he wants to either show the Leafs that they should keep him or whatever. But he's been playing great lately. So even if they end up trading him, hopefully you're kind of trading him at his peak value for the most part and get something back from him that's half decent. But yeah, I mean, I was impressed with a lot of the lower tier players tonight. It didn't seem like the top players had it too much tonight, but the lower tier guys came in, which is good. And the defense tonight too. Brandon Carlo had a great game. OEL was a little chippy. I mean, it's such a weird dynamic when you take Riley out of this lineup and then the defense just seems so much more solid because honestly, like Morgan Riley is a good defenseman, but it just seems like either he gets hung out to dry or he's, as they say, miscast, or he tries too hard and creates, opportunities for the other team that naturally wouldn't be there, I guess. I don't know what it is, but when he's not in this lineup, things just seem to work a little more smoothly. And it's frustrating to see that. I don't know, but yeah. Final shots 36-27 Oilers. Leafs get heavily outshot again. Luckily, the goalies are at least standing on their head there, so at least the Leafs can get a couple of wins when the goalies are like that. Hopefully that keeps up. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. Leafs sit, I think, 5 points out of the playoffs now. So, yeah, I still don't know how to feel about it. I really don't. I want them to push. I don't. I'll have to see how everybody else is feeling about this. I'm still undecided. I mean, if they do win a couple, then yeah, push for it. But I don't know. I mean, it almost has like a remnant of the Jays season, kind of how the Jays were not very good for the majority of their season, and then towards the end, they really started picking it up and making a push, and they made some magic happen in the playoffs. So, it's still up in question whether this Leaf team is even going to make the playoffs. But if they do, maybe it's one of those off years where they slip into the wild card spot. They play a team they don't have any demons against, and they actually make something happen. That'd be something pretty special for the first year of doing this channel. Leafs could make it to like a third round or something like that, a conference final. My God, that would be incredible. So I don't know, but yeah, this is the last Leaf game for a while. So with that being said, I'm gonna try and do the Canada games. I'll still post them on this channel, probably the same playlist too of just the Canada games. I'll talk about it. Um, you know, give as much insight as I can on it. But yeah, I'm excited for the break. It'll be a nice little mental rest for a while, and then when they get back, whenever that I think it's like what, February 28th they come back, something like that. So there's quite a significant amount of time between now and the next Leaf game, which is pretty crazy. So I don't know. I guess that's all. Just enjoy the rest and try to not listen to the news so much because there's going to be a lot of talking points about this team over the next little while. But I guess that's what we're all here for, right? So yeah, if you're tuning in, appreciate it. If you're not, you should be at the unofficial breakdown on Instagram. And that's pretty much it. See you later.